Okay, the first two questions will be addressed to the candidates for second selectman, and Stacia Rice Libby is the first person to come up. Okay, the question is, what can the town do to help maintain the market value of our homes?
Oh, wow. That was an easy one to start with. I think we have to continue to make our community a place that people want to come and live and build their businesses in. That's the only answer that I have. I don't have, you know, the years of experience that my opponent has, so I have a little bit less to offer when it comes to that. But I think it does come down to keeping our house values at, you know, at appropriate levels, bringing people into town, making the retail business, you know, trying to get more businesses into town to get more people to town, get more interest in our town.
Thank you. Joel, great question. What can the town do to help maintain the market value of our homes?
Well, market value is depends very much on what a person is willing to pay for a home. And so I think that we just need to make sure that the town maintains its basic services, its basic great education. We need to rebuild the business community or to strengthen it. And actually, I'm a little more concerned, not so much about maintaining the property values, but what happens to homeowners when certain properties, for no apparent reason, exceed a certain level and raise the rest of the properties. And in 2 minutes, I really can't answer that question. There are different countries in the world that deal with that issue. It's called a clawback type of tax, where the property is sold for a very, very large amount of money as compared to what it was appraised for. What they generally do is go back a few years and ask for back taxes, and they don't raise the value of the premises. But in general, I think that, again, I'm very positive about this town, and we definitely need to maintain good schools. We need to enforce and improve the business community, and we need to cross our fingers and hope that things get better in the economy.
Okay, we are alternating the order of the questions being asked, so Joel will be up next. What can be done to improve the maintenance of Essex streets, including snow plowing?
The budget currently has a $100,000 line item for road construction and repair. We do have a plowing budget of about $20,000. And typically what happens is that during the budget season, the Board of Finance somehow relies on the previous year for what they're going to budget for snow removal. I'm very much in favor of putting out during the summer a request for qualifications for outside contractors, and then a request for proposals to have outside contractors help cover the town, with the stipulation that when they agree, the town is the first one that is taken care of, not their customer drivers. And so, on the snow end, I think we can do something. On the street, I would really concentrate on the current budget and look for where there's waste. And I think from what I've seen out there, with the cost of asphalt and the cost of labor and so forth, we probably need to increase the line item for road repair and reconstruction.
Stacia, same question. What can be done? What can be done to improve the maintenance of Essex streets, including snow plowing?
I think it's tough to come off of a year where we had just records amount of snow. I remember when I was a kid there being those amounts of snow, and it was great, but as an adult it wasn't as much fun. So last year I have to say that, you know, we all kind of had a hard time both in the retail sector and privately with the you know, the snow that we had, and I have to say that I think the town did the best that they could to maintain it given the circumstances. You know, again, I agree with Joel, we have to find places to cut spending and maybe put resources in other areas. It's hard to, with plowing specifically, how do you know what to anticipate? You know, last year we needed more in the plowing budget, but this year we might not. You just kind of have to do the best you can with what you got. That's it.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the questions for the first selectman and candidates, and Norm Middleman is getting the first crack. And the first question is, What is your business development plan for the town, and how does it differ from the plan currently in place, and how do you intend to measure the success of your plan? Sure. What is your business development plan for the town? How does it differ from the plan currently in place, and how do you intend to measure the success of your plan? Three-part question.
I think that the town formed an Economic Development Commission right around 2000, and I served on that commission for a while, and we tried to figure out what we wanted to be when we actually became a commission, because we were charged with very, very little authority to do anything. Over the years, the Economic Development Commission has found a place helping develop grants for the town that have improved our infrastructure. I think that as a business development plan, it's part of an overall vision for how you see the town. And that vision really comes down to maintaining the town well and making it attractive, not only for businesses, but for residences also, for residential people as well. So we need, it's a broad-based plan, excellent education, reasonable services, low taxes, getting the most out of every dollar we spend, and giving our citizens the best quality of life possible. We attract rather than promote here because we don't have a huge amount of money that we spend on outreach. We could always put some money in the budget, but I'm not sure that we have an appetite for spending a lot more money in this town for anything at this point. So I think that we need to stay on the same path of keeping our town well maintained, putting our resources where they need to be, and measure it based on the overall quality of life. It's not one thing. It's not how many stores you have. I think when we evaluate the condition of our town right now, we can look around and pick and say there are some stores empty, there are property values that have gone down, but I measure us against the rest of the state and communities around the country, and I think we've fared very well because we've been well managed, we've been prudent, we've budgeted prudently, we've maintained our town prudently. In 2003, when we took over, there was a big residue of roads and sidewalks that needed to be repaired, and we've since done a good job in bringing us back up to where we need to be. Education has improved. Our schools have become award-winning schools in the last 8 years. Great teachers, great administration, great boards of ed, all things that are important. Improved facilities, all important in attracting business and people to our community and making it a wonderful place to live.
Thank you. Okay, Bruce, I read the same question for you. This is kind of complex. What is your business development plan for the town? How does it differ from the plan currently in place? And how do you intend to measure the success of your plan?
Okay, as I think all of us know, in all three of our villages, we have a lot of empty retail stores, and as you drive around town, again, in all three villages, you see a lot of empty commercial buildings. As I said in my opening remarks, I want to be the chief salesman for the town. I want to work very closely with the Economic Development Commission, and my plan is really this. First of all, I'm going to target specific brokers. When I moved my business from New Haven to this area, I didn't just drive around and pick on an area to move to. I went to a business broker, and I said, I'm looking for this many square feet, and I'm looking for this, and he steered me in that direction. So part of my plan is to work with those brokers, get to know them, get to sell them on Essex. Secondly, they're just moving some furniture, Jeff. Secondly, I just lost my train of thought. Just give me a second. Okay. Secondly, what we have to do, in addition to working with the brokers, is that we have to sell the owners on coming to Essex. You know, we have a wonderful town. Norm alluded to the Ironton Playhouse, a gem. We've got the railway, a steam engine. We've got, you know, the Connecticut River Museum. We've got an outstanding education system here now, much stronger than when my young man went through the system. So we have a lot of things to attract people. In small business, it goes where the owner or the CEO wants to go. So we've got to sell that owner and that CEO that this is the place to come. Then, as First Selectman, I'll help the business through the permit process. I'll welcome them, I'll visit with them, I'll help them kind of grease the skid so they can get here. And then lastly, if there's an issue with either the seller or the landlord, I'll try to work with both parties to put a deal together. If it may require a little incentive on the part of the town, I'd be more than willing to do that. Now, how are you going to measure my success? You're going to measure my success by the expanded tax base, because that's what we need to do, and that's why we need to attract more business. We can't pull the cart all ourselves. We need more commercial help us on the taxes. And secondly, you can measure my success by the lack of empty stores in commercial buildings. Thanks.
Okay, the next question will be directed first to Bruce McMillan. At a recent, well-attended meeting, the Board of Selectmen discussed a proposed blight ordinance that many of those present criticized as being inadequate. As a result, the Selectmen agreed to review the ordinance and resubmit it with revisions. What are your views regarding such an ordinance, and if you favor it, what provisions do you think it should contain?
Okay. Let me just say, the meeting that you're referring to took place in July of 2010. That was quite a while ago. I exactly don't define that as recent. At that meeting, the move was made to bring a blight ordinance forward, and it never has gotten anywhere. What I would like to do to address the blight situation is to use the power of the First Selectman's office and a partnership with the town to straighten out these blight properties. Let me tell you what I would do. I would personally call up the owner of every single blight property. I would also, as part of that, once I identified them, I had a conversation with them, I'd send them a picture of what their property looks like. Because I suspect some of them, like the old Elsie Dome property, maybe the Sunoco station, the owner really doesn't know how bad it looks. So I would bring that to their attention. And then I would use a little bit of a threat. I would say, look, I'm getting a lot of pressure to have a blight ordinance. You can help me out. You won't like the blight ordinance. It's going to have heavy fines. What you need to do is straighten up your property and see if I can get a commitment to do that. As part of that, what I do is partner with them and say, look, how can we help you clean it up? Maybe we could waive the fees at the dump, do some little things to help clean up the property. And then lastly, if that didn't yield success, then I think we should look at structuring and coming out with a blight ordinance. And it's a very, very difficult ordinance because there is a lot of subjectivity involved in it, but I would get a group of concerned citizens together to work out at least a good draft for review by the town.
Thank you. Would you like to repeat the question? Would you like to repeat the question?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm never good with microphones.
Me either.
Am I on now?
You are.
Oh, thank you. Probably haven't been using the mic up until now. It is a difficult issue, and we addressed it in the face of what was a very angry group of citizens, many of which are from the North Main Street area, who are rightfully upset about a particular property in their neighborhood. I don't think most of the concern at the time of that meeting had to do with the commercial properties that were involved. And many of the people know that the three properties specifically discussed at that time, there was one on Route 153 right around Mayor's Hill Road, one on Main Street going into Ivoryton near the car dealership, and the one on North Main Street. 2 out of the 3 have been resolved on their own by private people buying those properties and reconstructing them and making them habitable. Those people in the neighborhood of the North Main Street house understand that there are very, very specific issues involved with that, with the owner of that property, and I'm really loath to react to a situation that affects one property, one residential property with a sledgehammer of a blight ordinance, although I think something needs to be done. The problem specifically there, the person really can't even be reached. That property is still habitable, she's paying her taxes, she's complying with the law, she just doesn't maintain her property, and I think she's particularly angry at the community. The three commercial properties that Bruce has mentioned, or two of them, I don't know if you mentioned the car dealership is the third one, all of which trouble me, and the fourth one that also troubled me was the piano factory, which has now been purchased in a market transaction by somebody who will use that property. I believe in speaking to the owners of those properties also, but please understand, one of those owners owns a large business in our town that provides a lot of employment and pays a lot of taxes. She lives in Deep River, and I'm sure she's aware of the condition of the property. The other two are owned by large corporate entities that threats will not work with. One is Sunoco, and one is a bank owned by the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Taiwan. So I think that Bruce's comments earlier about leveling a 10 times tax on them would end up in a massive lawsuit, and I think that's inappropriate from our point of view. Talk is what we need to do. Each of those problems has specific issues with it, and I think that we are probably not going to resolve that with an ordinance that looks forward as opposed to back.
Thank you. And then to the first question too. Yep. Question is the crime rate in Essex high enough to warrant a full-time police department? And if so, what would this department realistically add to the town's budget cost? If the additional expense were to come from elsewhere in the budget, where would those cuts be made?
Well, my honest opinion about that is that the idea of a full-time police department with all its trappings is absurd for our town. We have an incredibly low crime rate. We have a wonderful community. Walking around, knocking on almost 1,000 doors, I found 2/3 of them not locked. And probably half the people in this town don't even know where their keys are. I am really not in favor of the politics of fear and raising the specter of disastrous, tragic, one-off events that have happened in other communities as a way by which we should operate our town. Whether you believe that we should have one constable or 4 constables and 1 trooper, three constables and 2 troopers, or 2 and 2, there's a debate that we can have that's reasonable, but you don't have to look any further than to look to Old Saybrook to understand what a full-time police department means. It will be a slippery slope to being the second largest expense behind education in our town, and will represent the single largest expansion of government spending in this town that you have ever seen. You will have 15 police officers that quickly, because that's the way it grows on itself. So I am absolutely opposed about having a police department. The constable, the resident trooper constable program is a spectacular program. Issues that led to some of the problems with our constables in the last couple of years have been resolved in the new police contract. The clear line of authority now lies with our resident trooper, and no other responsibilities fall to our constables other than to be constables. That was a change that, in negotiating the last police contract, I was able to make, and our constables are happy with that situation. I don't know if I have any. Additionally, we do have one officer that's retired and 1 officer that's out on workman's comp. We are not responsible for when an officer gets injured on the job. We can only make sure that we have a suitable replacement. So at the present time, our force, our full-strength force would be 3 constables and 1 resident trooper. Because one of our constables is out on as a result of a work-related injury, we have 2 resident troopers and 2 constables. So I would debate at the end of this year whether we needed to go back to 4 and 1 or stay at 3 and 1, or that's the discussion to have not about having a full police department in our town. We have a wonderful mix of people, and they provide great police services. They work with our kids, they're familiar with our community, and we have a bargain from the state of Connecticut that we should never turn our back on.
To be quite honest with you, I thought we had a full-time police department. And I thought it was made up of a state trooper and 4 constables. I'm going to disagree with Norm a little bit on the point about our crime rate. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in 2009, our crime rate was twice that of Westbrook. Right now, as I said, I thought we had 4 constables, and what we really have is 2. What I'd like to see is our current force fully staffed. And then I think we'd be in very good shape. Also, as you may know, the police, in doing negotiations with the union and hiring policemen, are a very difficult thing. I don't know, with my experience, how I can tell if I should hire this person as a constable or that person as a constable. So what I would like to do is form a police commission. Now, we have several retired police chiefs in town, and we have several senior FBI managers in town. And I would like to recruit them, and I've talked to them about this, to give guidance on the whole police issue, to help with the hiring, to help with the evaluation, and most importantly, to help with the negotiations with the union. Thank you.
And simple question. What are your views on supporting 2 libraries in town?
I'm supporting 2 libraries?
2 libraries.
Okay, I'm going to expand that a little bit and talk about supporting nonprofits. We support a number of nonprofits in our budget, and I'm all for supporting nonprofits, the fire department, the ambulances, the libraries, because they give a return to the town. What I'm not interested in is supporting nonprofits like the United Nations Fund Agenda 21 that has no return to the town. So I'm very supportive of funding the libraries and any other nonprofit that provides a benefit to the town.
Keith, Mark?
Thank you. We've had a lot of debates. I think I can say honestly that after having been through 8 budget cycles in this town, there's been some heated discussions about how we spend our money and what we should do with it. There have been a lot of discussions about 2 libraries and about the other nonprofits that we give very, very small amounts of money to. Many of those nonprofits we inherited, but they include things like the Soup Kitchen, the Estuary Center for Seniors that provide Meals on Wheels, Tri-Town Youth Services that provide services to our kids, Gilead Services that helps with behavioral health issues, the Rushford Center that's a behavioral health hospital up in Middletown and Meriden, but all of these are very, very small amounts of money. If you take out Tri-Town and Estuary, which really are 2 cooperative organizations that we support regionally, the rest of it is probably $25,000 or $30,000 total. I think that our relationship with our major non-profit, non-public, public-private organizations is a spectacular bargain for our town, and it really speaks to the character of our community. We have a bargain on our libraries. We have a bargain in our ambulance association, and our visiting nurses, and in our fire department. We have a huge number of volunteers that provide services. Not sure that most of the community really thinks about, for example, the value of association libraries or volunteer fire departments, but if you want to see spending go up, let those become fully public entities and have the town government take over the cost of those. You'll see over a very short period of time your tax rates skyrocket. So we value those. We debate every year when the budget comes up. We take a very critical eye on all of their requests for money. We try to do the right thing. The last couple of years, for example, with the fire department, we've had a battle because the easiest thing to hold back money on is capital, because you don't spend it today. We have sinking funds in our town budget for equipment purchases. Things like fire engines are a major cost of capital, other than building renovations. So we fully funded our fire department with their operating expenses, and have always given them what they needed if they came back for special requests, because nobody there gets paid. In the last hurricane, I offered actually to double all of their salaries for all the hours they put in. And the same with our libraries. The libraries have gone through very difficult times because of the economy and the endowments, and we have kept a lid on expenses, but tried to be supportive of the services that they provide our community.
The next question is actually something of an opportunity to continue your remarks. How, if at all, would you change the support the town currently gives to nonprofit organizations? How, if at all, would you change the support the town gives currently to nonprofit organizations?
I think it's an ongoing process, and it's each year a debate with all of the major public-private partnerships that we have. We listen to need, we discuss their budget, we review what we can afford as a municipality and what their needs are. So we work very hard with those organizations and spend time talking and reviewing numbers with them to make sure that they get what they need so that they provide essential services to our community. And quite frankly, I see things like the libraries and the Estuary Center and Tri-Town as essential services for our community. I don't particularly think that they are arbitrarily, people have referred to them in the budget hearings as NGOs, non-governmental organizations. I take great exception to that. So it's an ongoing debate. I think that there's not a lot of room. We don't give a lot. We need to work with those organizations to make sure they're managed responsibly, and we need to continue to hold them accountable for the money that the taxpayers provide them. But we should also remember that we should be very, very grateful for the fact that, for example, we supply the Essex Library with less than 50% of its operating budget. The fire department raises large amounts of its own money. So I think that unless we're prepared to have all the fire chiefs who would never do this, mind you, just drop their badges on the desk and say, go hire a fire department, we have to be very careful about how we mediate that. All of this is a nuanced and difficult conversation that I've had 8 times already in the last 8 years, and I find it very rewarding to have come to understand the value of community service and the community support that we give those organizations through our volunteer services. So I think that we actually do a very good job of it right now.
Bruce, I'll repeat the question for you. How, if at all, would you change the support the town currently gives to nonprofit organizations?
As I just kind of pick up on the previous question, Norm is absolutely right. We are very, very fortunate here to have a number of nonprofit organizations that provide service to our town. I mean, the money that we spend for the fire department, we could not duplicate that if we had to have a fire department. Same with the library, the same with the Ambulance Association. So we're very, very fortunate in that regard. And I would want to continue that. As I said earlier, I just want to make sure that when we fund something that we get some value for our money. And I think that we get extreme value with a lot of the things. However, if there are some organizations that we're funding, even if it's a little bit of money, because dime here, dime there, and pretty soon you got $1 billion. But even if it's a little money and we don't get a return, I would question, why are we funding that organization?